all for joining today. Welcome certainly to our esteemed panelists. Thank you, Hala, for moderating. Thank you, Layal, our leader for WIT, for joining us, Women in Technology community. And thank you for all the attendees who joined us today. My name is Janine Aii. I am the Executive Director for LebNet, and I've been doing this job since March of 2021. It has been a delight and a pleasure to connect with like-minded Lebanese in technology. Just to tell you a little bit about LebNet, it is the premier diaspora network for professionals of Lebanese descent in North America. LebNet is dedicated to enable tech entrepreneurs and professionals of Lebanese descent succeed on a global stage. It started 20 years ago in the Bay Area with a handful of people getting together over lunch, and today we're over 2,000 people, 2,000 members, professionals and entrepreneurs of Lebanese descent in North America. We have 13 regional communities in all the major cities in the US and Canada, and we have 3 professional communities: early in career, women in tech, and biotech. What do we do? Just quickly, our mission sits on 3 pillars. Network our members, that's exactly what it is creating opportunities for our members to connect together, as well as feature their accomplishments through interviews, expert pieces, webinars, and so on. We also recognize the importance of our next generation and energizing our next generation to be able to carry the torch at some stage. So certainly nurturing the youth is a very important pillar of LebNet's mission. And we have created an early in career community that caters to young professionals with less than 5 years of experience. We also have connected with students of Lebanese descent in North America through the Lebanese Collegiate Network and other means, as well as partnering with AUB, LAU, and the major universities, other major universities in Lebanon to connect with the students and create programs for them along the lines of coaching, mentorship, webinars in the classrooms, lectures in the classrooms from experts in North America. Last but not least, connecting to Lebanon, giving back to Lebanon, especially during this time of crisis, supporting Lebanese in Lebanon as well as in North America as they land. The importance of our LebNet network is now more than ever very, very key to helping people as they land into the US, since there is a fresh influx of Lebanese as well trying to find their way here. US and Canada. Our focus in 2022 will continue to be energizing our communities by putting together steering committees to engage our members. Internships, we had a program that was very successful this year. We created 25 opportunities and hired 12 students in Lebanon, as well as in the US and Canada. We continue to partner with outfits on the ground in Lebanon to create opportunities for Lebanese. We have our 4th award ceremony that will happen at the end of the year, where we recognize high-tech professionals of Lebanese descent in various categories. The call for nominations is out, so please submit your nominations for the award recipients. We are piloting a scholarship program that's being launched by the early in career community and is coming in this fall. We are also piloting a fellowship program that the Women in Tech community is launching, and Layal will tell you more about it. So my call to you is to please support our mission and help us increase our impact and become a subscribed member of LebNet. Check us out at lebnet.us. If you have any questions, please connect with me at janine@lebnet.us. And with that said, I'll turn it over to Layal, who will tell you, Layal is our fearless Women in Tech community leader, and she'll tell you a bit about her community.
Thank you, Janine. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. We are honored to sponsor this webinar through the Women in Tech community. As Janine mentioned, I'm the lead for the community here, and we have a host of very accomplished leaders on the steering committee looking to make a difference through LebNet. Our mission is to guide, coach, and support the next generation of women in tech leaders and to grow the women in tech community within LebNet. We have over 400 members right now, and hopefully looking to grow, from there. We host many programs that are aimed to empower and feature women in tech. We also have a lot of programs that are aimed to grow the technical knowledge in general and aimed for networking across all LebNet members. So our events are open to all genders. So please join us anytime you see a WIT-sponsored event. Feel free to join. We are open for women and allies alike. If you are interested to join the community, you can become a subscribing member at lebnet.us, and this way you will receive information about our programming. Next, please. I wanted to highlight a couple of initiatives among the many initiatives that we have had since we launched last June, the Women in Tech community. And the first one is a program that targets young girls in Lebanon from different high schools, and that is the All Girls Code program that is initiated by TechXplore. So we collaborate on this program and we host training programs for girls on coding, CV writing, and landing internships in tech. We participated in this program in August of last year and then in August this year. We collaborate on this with AUB Faculty of Engineering, and in each of these occasions, we were able to reach more than 100 girls in the WIT-led workshops. And another program we are excited to launch that Janine mentioned is the WIT Fellows. This program targets female undergraduate students in Lebanon that are pursuing majors in technology. We are hosting right now, or we are planning to target a cohort of 30 students from AUB, LAU, and the Lebanese University. The program will launch in February next year. So right now we are recruiting fellows. This program is mainly targeted for first-year or first-generation college students from low income. And the aim is to equip them with the practical knowledge to have a successful transition into technical careers post-university. So for those who are interested to apply, please visit lebnet.us/WIT-fellows. And with that, I'm going to give it back to Hala to kick us off for the webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hala. So welcome, everyone. My name is Hala. I work at Apple, and we have today 4 different panelists that are joining the webinar. So thank you for joining and welcome. And if you're not familiar, this webinar is part of a series of webinars that LebNet usually organize across different topics, ranging from cryptocurrency to biogenetic. And you can see all of them on the YouTube channel, and this webinar will be also available later today. So for today's session, I have a list of questions that I would like to ask our panelists. And at the end, we're going to have a Q&A. So everyone is muted for this call, but if you have any question, add it to the Q&A session, and I will be reading it out loud at the end of the webinar. So before we get started, I would like to maybe, if each panelist can take 1 minute to introduce themselves to the attendees. We can start with Roy, then Cyrille, Christina, then Nagi.
Hi, I'm Roy Baladi. I lived in San Francisco, friends with Hala and the LebNet community. And then in 2019, when there was a Thawra, decided to take drastic moves in my life, moved to Lebanon and / Lisbon. And have been growing jobs for Lebanon and jobs for humanity. Computer scientist by trade, and product manager, business development has been the last 15 years in my career.
Awesome, thank you, Roy.
Hello everyone, I'm Cyrille Najjar. I'm the CEO of Sensio. I've been a teacher and professor at multiple universities like Cambridge University, UCL, but also universities in Lebanon like LAU and Alba. I've also been mentoring programs at Google Launchpad as a Google Mentor, Techstars, Barclays, and many others. Currently run Sensio Air, a biotechnology company where we do airborne pathogen identification, essentially telling you what's in the air at a half a micron level.
Thank you, Cyrille. Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Chehade. I'm the Managing Director of Endeavor in Lebanon. I started my career as a biologist and then moved to Paris and London to work as an investment banker in the biotech and the pharmaceutical field. I came back to Lebanon almost 10 years ago, and I wanted to actually have an impact on Lebanon itself. So I wanted to work on something that was impactful. I joined Endeavor. I'll tell you more about it later, but Endeavor is an organization that supports entrepreneurship. We basically help scale their businesses internationally through a network of 40 affiliates. So I'll tell you more about it later. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And Nagi?
Moubarak. I'm an entrepreneur, and I lived between Montreal, Beirut, and Barcelona as of next month. I started Outerpond, which is a B2B matchmaking between Lebanese service provider and foreign-based service seeker following the port explosion. And we'll have some nice talk with the panelists and hopefully answer some interesting Q&As. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, everyone. So like the goal of the panel today is to learn more about each of the panelists and the company they're doing and how they're trying to help outsource this global outsourcing destination for Lebanon and Lebanese startup and companies, and also for people who are attending, how you can help, whether you can leverage any of those programs or you can help participate in one of them. So first question, Roy, going back to you. So I've known you for a while, and I remember that you started Jobs for Lebanon, which also increased into like Jobs for Humanity. So I would love to understand more what inspired you to create this company, and also how it has evolved over time, and any challenges that you faced so far.
It started with a phone call from in 2019, right when there was 1 million people, 1 million of us on the streets in Lebanon, and we were organizing meetups in every city, Thawra. And but that phone call didn't have this rosy outlook. It was a friend of mine who had returned from maternity leave, and over 10 of her friends called her looking for a job or looking for money. She's a VC. So her idea was to reach out to the Lebanese diaspora, launch a campaign to them and tell them hire Lebanese in Lebanon. That basically broke down into 1, we need a campaign to reach the Lebanese diaspora. 2, we need a product so that they can come and post jobs and Lebanese can apply and get hired. Therefore, put that call out with a few friends, and you know, as we are in Lebanon, everybody wants to help. So 13 of us founded Jobs for Lebanon, launched it 3 months later on March 14, 2020, and the reaction was incredible. It went very quickly viral. Very first time I see something go so viral so quickly. And we saw the first person get a job, get hired the very first day after we launched. Over time, I would say the thawra, the spirit has evolved. Keep in mind, COVID hit, the explosion hit the port, and the major wave of emigration just accelerated in Lebanon. So how Jobs for Lebanon has evolved has been particularly well, because it's a testament that we're still standing and growing 2.5 years later. So we founded a nonprofit called Jobs for Lebanon. We have a team of, I would say, 10 dedicated, some paid, some contract employees, and about 20 plus volunteers. So far, 4,500 employers have published jobs. We have about 500 jobs active at any given time. And 17,000 job seekers have applied, and we estimate somewhere between 400 or 500 got jobs. And this is a conservative estimate. We oftentimes hear of people reaching out and saying, love your platform. Well, thank you. Well, I've hired 3 people already. I'm like, incredible. And so I can for sure see how this could have been and can be accelerated. The platform is there, it's ready for scale. Obviously, being by the nature of how it was created, or partnering with everyone, even Nagi at Outerpond. We'll talk a bit more down the road on how everyone can participate. But right now we've turned our attention from helping people at an individual basis find job, a graphic designer, a computer scientist, a math teacher, to helping businesses in Lebanon, small businesses, find larger projects to work on, because that is a huge part of the economy as well.
Awesome, thank you, Roy. So for everyone here that is joining the call, whether they're like looking for a job inside or outside of Lebanon, or whether they are a company that have like posting job for humanity, or is it jobs for humanity and job for Lebanon? Is it two different, or
Jobs
it's the same?
No, it's Jobs for Lebanon is this nonprofit initiative for us, by us, Lebanese, for destination. Jobs for Humanity.
It's a different one.
Is a
go ahead.
Organization that I've created just to widen the scope of, hey, you know what, people who are facing troubles anywhere in the world can't find jobs too. Two separate websites, two separate missions, but Jobs for Lebanon is where we're all focused on, and Jobs for Humanity is where I'm putting a lot of my energy right now as well.
I see. Sounds good. So then, yeah, for anyone joining that would like to recruit talent from Lebanon, Jobs for Lebanon is the right platform to either post job or to be like looking for a job as well. Thank you, Roy, for it. And we can also share like the links later on to the group. Cool. Next question for Christina. So like you mentioned, you were going to talk a little more about Endeavor mission, how it helps support a high impact entrepreneur to be successful and like scale their company. If you can tell us a little more about it, what type of opportunity it creates, and how it's helping the startup scene in Lebanon.
Okay, I'll tell you a bit about Endeavor in general. So we're a global organization. We're based out of the US. We're present in 40 countries. We have 500 team members. And we have a team in Lebanon. We've been in Lebanon since 2011, so more than 10 years. And the idea of Endeavor globally is to support scale-ups. So we actually want to transform economies by supporting what we call high impact entrepreneurs. So these are entrepreneurs that are going to scale quickly, create jobs, create revenue, and subsequently have an impact on the economy, and as well impact the next generation of entrepreneurs. So the give back component is very important for us. We want entrepreneurs who have succeeded to actually give back to the next generation. So if you want, our definition of high impact entrepreneurs are those entrepreneurs who have already raised Series A, are scaling super quickly, because these are the ones that are basically going to have the impact that we're looking for. So in Lebanon, if you're familiar with the tech sector, we have in our portfolio more than 30 companies, tech and non-tech. The important thing is that they have to be tech enabled, so they're not purely 100% tech. We support these 30 companies with the support of our network in the 40 countries we're present in. And just to give you names, we have companies in our portfolio like Anghami, Proximi, Toters. So these are this is the scale of the companies that we support. Now, what happened since 2019, unfortunately, the ecosystem in Lebanon shrank. So we no longer have a pipeline, basically, or companies to support. Most of them left the country, now are based in Abu Dhabi, London, even Paris and the US. So we decided to basically follow what Endeavor Greece did. And what they did is they started reaching out to diaspora entrepreneurs. And since COVID, the world became borderless. So we decided to actually look at Lebanese entrepreneurs from the diaspora, scale-ups, I'm talking scale-ups, so companies that fit our criteria, get them through the Endeavor network, and tell them that we're going to support them in the 40 countries that we're present in. And at the same time, we want them to give back to Lebanon. And this is where the impact on Lebanon comes in, because these companies have succeeded abroad, have scaled their businesses. They want to give back to Lebanon. They just don't know how. So the idea for them is to actually mentor local entrepreneurs, help them by opening up their networks, by giving them access to their teams, even by investing in them. And the idea is for these entrepreneurs to talk to each other. So it's just bridging the gap between diaspora entrepreneurs and local ones. And we've also developed a program for local entrepreneurs, which are a bit smaller, so kind of just pre-scale up if you want. And this program will be done with the support of the bigger entrepreneurs from the diaspora. So we have, for example, CFOs from entrepreneurs, diaspora entrepreneurs mentoring these companies. We have CMOs as well. So they're opening up their networks to us to be able to help local entrepreneurs. And this, I mean, this is something we came up with end of 2021 because we saw that to have an impact on Lebanon and we needed to leverage the diaspora. So this is where we are today, supporting the diaspora abroad, having them give back to Lebanon, and at the same time continuing in supporting and helping our portfolio of 30 companies.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Christina. And also, like with that change, for people who are interested to learn more about any of those two programs, everything can be found on the Endeavor Lebanon, or like you also have like two places where people can learn about the local program and then the one for the diaspora.
Yes, you can go, and you can also go on our Instagram. Everything's clear, and else you can just contact me and talk about it.
Perfect. It's very interesting change how like we're mimicking some other model, like the one from Greece, and then with the fact that with COVID everything is becoming global. Just one more question: is this happening only in Lebanon, or the fact that also COVID makes everything global? All the Endeavor in other locations are mimicking a similar model?
No, I mean, the fact that the world became just one made it easier for companies to scale, but we saw countries like Greece, we have Argentina as well, who went through an economic crisis. We have Tunisia as well. So all of these countries who have been through economic crisis, not as tough as ours, are reaching out a lot to the diaspora community. And in Greece, what happened is really magical. I mean, when everything came back to kind of normal, you have a big group of diaspora entrepreneurs who came back to Greece, who opened offices in Greece, who recruited people, and they're working closely with the government to develop incentives to get these diaspora-led companies to come back and set up shop in Greece, venture capital funds. So it's actually like for Lebanon, I think if everything, I mean, being positive, if we're going to reach that stage, that I think there's a lot of hope and support that can come from these entrepreneurs. Everything is stable. If we get to a stable country with a stable political system, I think it would be a great opportunity to have them be involved.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Christina. So next question for Cyrille. That like you have been leading like several programs also to help mentor startup in Lebanon, and if you can tell us like a little more about like those type of program, like what you've been doing, and if there are startups that are interested in, how can they join or apply to them?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Hala. I've been doing these programs for a very long time now. I've taught at places, as I said initially, Alba and AU, AUB, but also programs like Beritech and Nucleus Ventures, UK Lebanon Tech Hub, and many others. And I find these programs are critical for the ecosystem. So I've also been, as I said initially, so I currently teach at Haas Business School and Stanford StarTex. So we're coming in as Lebanese mentors, or originally Lebanese mentors with a lot of experience from abroad. A lot of us came with YC backgrounds or Techstars background and so on. And it's critical for the community to actually first apply to these programs. I think I always say, the biggest challenge is getting started, and the second biggest challenge is persevering. So starting, get your foot in the door, and then trust their system. It works. It really works. And we did our first program in Beirut. I'm now sitting in California, in Silicon Valley. This system works. So I know that very often, especially technical people are more focused on their own skill set, but it's great to also understand that these programs bring you like three major things. First of all, a community. They'll help you meet like-minded people that face the same challenges you do, and that also helps you, create a culture around, around your skill or your company. And that culture is critical for being hired later on. Nobody's going to hire somebody with the wrong culture. It's really, really hard for US or UK or any type of company from abroad to, even if it's a Lebanese founder, to work with a culture that doesn't fit the rest of the team. And then the interpersonal skills, because a startup, it's also about reporting, about running scrums and sprints, and being very good with communicating with others. So these are three things I think are critical for a lot of entrepreneurs to learn from outside their skill set, outside what they've been taught at university, to actually be better at being hired, but also at contributing to a company, a startup, and a collective of people trying to build something together.
Awesome. Thank you, Cyrille. And last question for Nagi. Like, we're getting to know each of the panelists, and then the second round, we're going to go deeper into each of the questions. And for Nagi, so you started Outerpond not a long time ago, which is this free online platform that helps companies that are based in Lebanon and startup to find opportunities abroad. Can you tell us a little more about it and how it's helping that particular, like what type of problem it's trying to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. Following the port explosion, we've probably seen a mass uptake on behalf of the diaspora, both in terms of being shocked by the event, and at the same time being probably for the first time, maybe in the history of Lebanon, everybody wanted to make a difference. And I was there at the time, and I said, okay, how can I try to use my entrepreneurial experience to make a difference? Everybody was looking at emergency aid, but there is something that is critical. You have the private sector in Lebanon, which has been for so many years part of the success of the Lebanon we all love and we all remember. And all of a sudden, whether it due to the COVID or the revolution or the banking meltdown and the economic meltdown, you have all those companies that are still viable, that have talented employees who found themselves completely stuck. It was a nightmare. So how can we try to find opportunities for these companies outside Lebanon? So the best way was to create a platform and to try to bring on board what we call service seekers, meaning companies that are based abroad that might have different needs. It might be things that are simple as creating a logo, to something that is as complex as creating, an AI program. So we've been around for the past year. We launched on July 16, 2021. We have been extremely active in trying to create partnerships, whether with the local business community in Lebanon, with the LBCL, with Lebanese private sector network, as well as abroad. Roy, you mentioned, Jobs for Lebanon, and this is, we hopefully are going to grow our partnership, but also with Chambre de Commerce et d'Industrie Canada Liban and various entities. Why? Because we do feel that all these entities like LebNet, they do have members, and these members are either influential in their companies or they are the CEOs of their own companies. And every single member of the diaspora usually says, we want to help Lebanon. But how can you help Lebanon if you don't have a system, if you don't have a platform? A long time ago, it used to be, we call out friends or families, who do you know in that and that sector who could do XYZ design. And it was a one-on-one type of activity. Now we are trying to bring it on a different scale, a massive scale, and we can reach different companies. We've had companies sign up from Singapore all the way to the UAE, Canada, and the US. And we've had also initial success stories. One of them, I'm just going to mention it because it's quite interesting. It's a Lebanese Canadian who's an investor. And he also felt, extremely, how can I put it, demoralized by the situation in Lebanon. And he wanted to invest. So his idea was to try to find a design firm, an architecture firm, who could design a couch, a simple couch, just like the ones that you could find at IKEA. And he registered on Outerpond as a service seeker. He posted whatever he needed. And now they have designed their first couch. They have a container coming to Montreal, and they're in touch with Costco to try to sell also the Lebanese design at Costco. So these are small examples of what can be done. It doesn't mean that it needs to be multi-million-dollar budget or projects. It could be as simple as tiny projects all the way to mega projects. And since the platform is free, it is probably one of the most effective tools to try to help the Lebanese private sector to, reignite the economy, because all the politicians keep on talking about the IMF and things like this. Why don't we take baby steps, practical steps, and make a real difference? So that's the aim, and this is the mission.
Awesome. Thank you, Nagi. So like the Outerpond platform helps anyone who is looking to connect with companies outside of Lebanon for whatever help they need. It can be something small or something bigger. It's kind of a platform that will help do this match.
Just a clarification, Hala. I'm sorry, it's not anyone. We're focusing only on businesses. It could be startups or established business, but not individuals. Yeah, not freelancers.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the individuals, this is where the complementary part come with Roy, where he also helped provide individual looking for jobs. So maybe like going back to Roy, and like as you have more people joining, we're going to do one last round of questions, but really want this to be more interactive. So please, if you have questions, start asking them in the Q&A, because like after this round of questions, we're going to deep dive into whatever question you have for the panelists. Can be simple question, it can be challenging one. We're open to all type of questions. So Roy, like you've been doing the jobs for Lebanon since the Thawra, when everyone was excited, like until now. So how do you see the space changing in terms of like what are additional challenges that Lebanese are facing today, and if Jobs for Lebanon has adapted or changed anything to help on that end?
The challenges have been honestly existential and incredible just in the last 2 years. So 2 years ago, the dollar was at 1,500. Our biggest problem is that we can't get our money out of the bank. Today, the dollar is at 37,000, and we still can't get our money out of the bank. So the challenge is that right now, and you go out to coffee shops and you talk to people, like they still have the Lebanese mentality, and they're warm, they're close to the heart, they're incredible salespeople, they're incredible at starting conversations, they're extremely hardworking. But it's demoralizing when your salary dropped from, let's say, $1,000 a month to $100 a month. No matter how you look at it, that's a big change. How you adapt to this one change is you let international employers know that, you know what, the cost reward of hiring a Lebanese is amazing. And if you're right now paying $100,000 to $200,000 to $250,000 for a Python developer in the United States, well, we'll be happy to take that salary and split it among 8 of us. And the output is going to be 8 times better. So that's one. It's a communication problem as far as the solution is concerned. It's une autre paire de manches as far as the problem is concerned. Another issue is we started with Lebanese didn't know how to get paid because the banks weren't working. A lot of these problems have been bandaged, and a lot of people are basically finding solutions. I can't say that there is a straight shot answer for this one. So I'm going to say, just be mindful when you hire someone, ask them how they want to be paid and be flexible. The third one is, what was on my mind? It just blanked. Literally was talking about number 2, three in mind. But internet issues. Mazout and Kahraba have basically been scaring the lifeline out of us. So as an outlet, having some organizations in Lebanon that have figured it out, such as BTD, such as Novelis, such as CME, who basically already entered this crisis with a lot of foreign corporations who outsource a lot of their work to them. And actually they've grown in this crisis. So not everything is dark. And have a plan B in order to move people if they need to, and have figured out how to have reliable internet and electricity. So being able to partner with them, which is what we do, in order to offer reliable access, and then keep the communication on the cost quality that you get by hiring Lebanese people is our solution to this.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. It's true that we forget sometimes about the challenges, like the payment problem, which for any companies outside of Lebanon would not even be a challenge. Perfect. I'm going to actually ask a question to Cyrille, which, Samia, thank you for asking the question. It's exactly the same one as I had, so I'm going to read yours instead. So Samia Melhem has asked if, hi all, thanks for this good panel. Indeed, the situation in Lebanon is dire and all the diaspora should pitch in a smart and agile way to support your work. In terms of the demand you are witnessing, how can the diaspora help improve the skill of individual and businesses in Lebanon to meet the outsourcing demand and requirement from outside job market? And Cyrille, we have been talking about the concept of people upskilling in Lebanon and what we're seeing big tech company focus on. So if you can talk a little more about this space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, this is an excellent question and a critical one. I think there's a few points gig workers want to focus on. First of all is, I would love to, kind of use Roy's talk about price to say that very often, as Lebanese engineers or product managers or product designers, they are actually competing with the entire world. So they aren't necessarily, the cheapest out there, even today with the recession and so on. They are actually quite expensive compared to people who are in other locations that are perhaps have a lower GDP. So I think price is often something that is overlooked in the hireability of an engineer, especially when there's a lot of other choices. Now, I know we like to think that hire Lebanese and so on, but at the end, your P&L and your cash flow dictates who you hire, right? And if you have a better engineer at a lower price, hey, tough luck. So that's the first thing. I don't think they're always cheaper. I think very often they ask for too much money for what they actually know. The second, I think, is also improving the tech stack. The tech stack very often has a lot of remnants from older tech stacks that aren't as useful today as they were 10 or 20 years ago. We also have a lot of Microsoft, very hardcore developers, .NET, C#, a lot of Azure. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying that a lot of the companies are on AWS. They're using Python. They've moved on to React Native or React or Node.js. They're on GCP, which is the Google Cloud Platform. So and it's very easy to get certified for these platforms. Like even if you're great at Azure, even if you're great with Microsoft, do spend time getting on with GCP and AWS, because that on your resume is going to make you that much more hireable. And because a lot of startups also will take both GCP and Azure because they're getting credits from both, and then they'll funnel towards one. And perhaps also on the tech stack, I think expertise we tend to be generalist because of the industry Lebanon is. I often say, you know, Lebanon is a great place for tourism. You get great food, you know, amazing parties. It's not necessarily, you know, a vehicle manufacturing country, or, you know, it's not necessarily a tech sort of hub, right? And we're trying to make it a tech hub, which is a fantastic, you know, endeavor we're looking towards. But we need to understand that what you get as jobs in Lebanon is often very generalist, but what people require of you abroad is very specific, and you fit in a larger ecosystem of products. So if you're working on a machine learning, it needs to work all the time because it's a tiny little piece of, it's a tiny little cog in the engine that makes a greater product or a larger product function. So these are a few things. And the last thing, sorry if I'm taking too long here, the last thing I'd like to touch on is, you know, scalability of engineering versus dirty engineering. A lot of product companies, a lot of startups, and even larger companies like Facebook, and I think Hala is well suited to know, will want dirty engineering first. They will want a quick version of the product before a scalable one. And so it's critical that as an engineer, even if you're exceptional at what you do, that you accept to, you know, whip out a very simple version of the product first and then over-engineer all the features. I think these are a critical thing. And lastly, and I implore of you all who are developers, documenting and control. A lot of engineers think that if they hand over their code to their CEOs or CTOs, they're going to be out of a job soon. They become replaceable. Holding up information so that you don't get fired will get you fired far faster, because nobody wants to have code held up with a developer. So having this culture where you share, you work your code with a secondary person, and you communicate, document, and push to Git all the time consistently will make people very, very happy to work with you, because they feel safe around you and they know they can keep you around for as long as they need to.
Awesome, Cyrille. Thank you for sharing. And I agree that sometimes the perspective of working in companies outside of Lebanon or within Lebanon is different. So learning about what companies are looking for can really help increase your chances of getting a job outside, whether it's outside or just globally, if this is one of the goals. And I'm going to go back to one of the questions from Ricardo Horsi, and it kind of connects a little more to what Cyrille is sharing and what Najjar was saying. So, like, how can we create synergy among all of your organizations? So I'm going to ask this question to Nagi, but like as Cyrille was talking, Roy, I was thinking that like all those insights can be like good tips that you can add like in a blog on jobs for Lebanon, or like, I don't know if you have recommendation, but as we're having company applying for, it can be good to help people also improve their resume on job for Lebanon.
Great idea, actually. Yeah, we
so,
can do that.
Yeah, this is like one synergy idea. But then, Nagi, like if you think about like what Outerpond is doing and how you think you can collaborate with people on this panel and what each of their company can do. You're on, okay.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we all tend to work individually. I mean, we're great individuals and entrepreneurs as Lebanese, and when we try to unite, we're not very good at this, unfortunately. And this is why, I mean, we try to reach out to every single organization we feel that can make a difference, whether with Jobs for Lebanon or all the organizations that I mentioned. You only have to visit, I mean, Outerpond.com, and you're going to see that we have around 20 organizations in Lebanon and abroad with which we are heavily collaborating. Why? Because it really boils down to one thing. If we can collaborate and make a single project come to fruition, It is going to help the company, it is going to help the employees, and we can start developing things out, and it can snowball. It can have the potential to have a snowballing effect. I mean, Roy talked about 15,000, I believe, applicants on their platform, which is really massive when you think about it for a country like Lebanon. So why not also do the same for Lebanese service providers? And one thing I always think about is LebNet has got, I believe, 2,000 members in the US and Canada. Imagine if you can only get 1% to sign up today and to post a few of their needs, whatever their needs might be. They can tap into the platform, they can post, they can discover the database that we have of fantastic companies. It might be tiny startups, and it might be companies that are very well established, like Sakotel, like Ketani, so mega companies in Lebanon. So it really is all about intentions. It really is all about the fact that they need to not even take a risk, but just try to sign up, post their needs, and get the feedback. And ultimately, there's no risk. The platform is completely free. And then I do know that, Cyrille, we had a side talk a while back, and you kept on saying that, you know, Lebanon might be a risky country. But you also said that the essence of outsourcing is to take a risk. I believe companies that are dealing with India are not necessarily not taking a risk. They might be taking a risk also, just like in Lebanon. So why not do it for Lebanon? And this is really the message that Outerpond is all about. Give a chance to Lebanese companies because it is worthwhile. And it's not out of haram. It is because we truly have fantastic talent in Lebanon that is vying to service the needs of worldwide companies.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead, Christina.
I just want to add one thing. I think there's also, we need to raise awareness and bridge the gap, because, you know, we're all doing, like everyone on this panel is doing something, and we all know each other, and we're talking with each other to collaborate. But it's just about also raising awareness, because I mean, the diaspora doesn't necessarily know what's happening in Lebanon on the ground, and we don't know what the needs of diaspora companies are if they want to outsource to Lebanon. So I think we need to put like Lebanon on the map, like Nagi said. It can be, I mean, you know, companies are hiring developers in India. Why not Lebanon? And it's about just raising awareness about Lebanon and bridging the gap between what's international and the companies who want to hire and local talent. And I think that's very important, because no one knows what's happening. I mean, I have entrepreneurs coming to me from the diaspora saying, where can I hire? And to go back to, I think, Samia's question, there's an amazing initiative by BDD and the World Bank who's allowing the upskilling of talent in Lebanon to be able to have them fit in, you know, global companies looking to hire. So there are things happening in Lebanon. It's just about raising awareness and bridging this know-how. I mean, bridging the gap.
Yeah, thank you for adding this, Christina. And I agree that today, when someone wants to look to help, it can be like a little confusing. So doing like a better job at directing each person will be a good outcome. I will take a note to see how we can summarize everything that we're talking about for anyone who wants to share out later. Yeah, Cyrille, you wanted to add something?
A quick word to second, you know, what both Christina and Nagi were saying. Another immense asset we have in Lebanon that is often overlooked, and in the past few years has been kind of you know, frowned upon. A lot of, you know, people say, why are you speaking French? Why are you speaking English? Why don't you just speak Arabic? So those three languages we have in Lebanon are such an immense, you know, asset for the Lebanese to work across the world, from the US to Europe to France to Canada. I mean, these countries have enormous GDPs. You speak the three highest GDP languages in the world, which is all of the Arab world, all of the US, North America, and a big chunk of Europe and Africa. And really, it's critical that we maintain those three languages, with fluent languages in Lebanon, because this is what makes a lot of people succeed, because they can switch from a mindset to another. They can have communication with one or the other. And I think this lies under, all this, great, intellectual skills we have in Lebanon as well.
Yeah, that is true. This is a great conversation so far, and like we have a few more minutes, so I'm going to take two more questions from the audience. And as you guys are sharing out, if there's anything else that you want to share, please feel free to share it out. So one question from Leah Farah, like at this point, do you think we need to incrementally innovate the Lebanese sector we're already great at, or rather completely dive into the trendy sector that the world is already going to? I don't know, like Cyrille or Christina, if one of you want to take this question.
Christina, would you like to start, or shall I?
Go ahead.
I think we have to do both. I think people who are already great in their sector should keep at it and push forward, and maybe make sure they trickle down with innovation, peripheral innovation. So I know Leah, who's in fashion and so on. So she definitely, I would personally push towards more of your strength. But as a country, I think we desperately need to innovate broadly in automotive, in autonomous cars, in AI, in machine learning, and all these things. I think we have a dire need for that.
Yeah.
I want to add one thing. I think, like Cyrille said, we need to do both. And the advantage of a Lebanese entrepreneur is that they never set up a business thinking Lebanon is their market. They always think about, the global market. So I think with this in mind, it doesn't really matter if, in which sector they are, because we saw that, from experience, that Lebanese entrepreneurs who had their business model proven abroad and who were doing well abroad with fresh dollars coming in and all of that, were the ones who were able to survive and continue to actually grow even in this very complicated environment. They still have their teams in Lebanon, they're paying them in fresh dollars, they're scaling into the GCC, Africa, etc. So I think that, they can do both. It's just about the opportunities that are present, where they see a gap and how they can scale, because some ideas can work in the US that are not present in Africa, and the Lebanese entrepreneur can tackle that in Africa. So it really depends. And I think this is a strength that Lebanon has built throughout the years by, just looking at the world as its market, as their market.
My thought on it is, pick an industry that has a future, and then do the best you can, and then sharpen your spear as much as possible. Like, ultimately, you need two ingredients, whether you're an individual or corporation. You need to build an amazing product. As a corporation, you need to be able to sell it. As a human, you need to be able to have incredible skills, sharpen them, and that's what you have control. And then you need to be able to sell it. And then you've got vehicles here, whether it's Outerpond, Jobs for Lebanon, or pretty much any of us, LebNet, that have vehicles that will come and help you become, have access to job opportunities, have access to large international projects. But so you can't second guess yourself and then just go as hard as you possibly can. A couple of days ago, I met, a guy who was, a hairdresser's assistant. I asked him, do you cut hair as well? He's like, yeah, I learned everything on YouTube. And the day before that, I spoke to an 18-year-old kid who's learning how to, become a computer programmer in Python, not just supplementing his school, his education, but through online courses. And he asked me if he was in the right path. I'm like, yeah, of course, there's a future in computer science. Then just don't ask questions with food khashab. And then look at other channels and then leverage them. And to Ricardo's question of what are we all doing internally here in order to collaborate and merge our efforts, Hala had an idea of taking all these insights from upskilling and onwards to collaborate. Nagi and Jobs for Lebanon have already started a partnership. Christina and Endeavor and I have already had a conversation on potential funding sources. So we are doing a lot of work together. So we're not individual siloed, driven by egos. But what we can ask for everyone here is, if you are looking for a job, apply. You've got resources in this call that can come and help you. If you have a business that can come and hire more than an individual and teams in Lebanon, then you're on this call for a reason. Just take that step and then bring that project over, and then let us help Lebanese firms bid on these projects. Chances are you're going to absolutely love the outcome, because the energy here is everyone's in survival mode. Like, you can't have what we just had happen and not be in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you're going to do everything you can to impress, and you're going to go over and beyond. And this cannot be said to people who live in an economy that is doing very well. They get sluggish. So now is the perfect time to come and hire someone from Lebanon, not just because your heart says it, but because it's the right thing to do.
Can I add a really quick thing? It's a bit cheeky. For all those who are looking for a job, can I please beg of you, fill the application entirely. Don't refer to your LinkedIn profile, because when we actually ask for this information, we want to know if you're actually patient enough to write it again. If you want to copy paste it, but don't be rude on your application. You're never going to get hired. So take the time, read the questions, and answer them, because other people are doing so, and they're putting their heart into those applications. They're reviewing the companies, looking at their website, reading every bit of documentation, and then applying. So take your time if you want the job, or don't apply to jobs you don't want.
I mean, Hala, if I can also add my little bit. It would be great if some of the participants today have any type of project. I mean, it could be something that is really tiny. It doesn't need to be a massive project, and just register on Outerpond, test the waters, see what kind of companies are registered as service providers, because this is what we need. Because ultimately, I mean, the webinar is fantastic, but we need to go into implementation. And I believe us, as well as Jobs for Lebanon, this is what we need. We need to have an active presence. We need to have tangible opportunities, whether for job seekers or for projects for companies B2B on Outerpond. And this is really the best way to help the Lebanese private sector, the employment and employees in Lebanon. So instead of saying, I would like to help, how can I help? Now you have two fantastic platforms that can give you practical ways of helping. So let's not go into, the nitty-gritty detail of what can be done. Let's just do it. And this is the best way to do it, by taking baby steps and making a real change, because we keep on talking about how can we help Lebanon, and a massive 5-year plans. You have platforms that are available, that are free, that are extremely practical, and the risk is really minimal. So that's my message to everyone. I'm not sure if Roy also you would like to say anything. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We had a few more questions, but I know we're already out of time, so we would answer them offline, to the participant. But thank you, everyone, for the valuable insight. I enjoyed the conversation. I hope everyone enjoyed it as well. So this will be recorded for anyone who wants to watch it later. And if it's okay for the panelists, if anyone in the audience would like to reach out to learn more about what you're doing, feel free to reach out to the different panelists. That's it. Any last word from everyone, for anyone in the group?
Thank you very much for the time and effort. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.